is just to give a little bit of a refresher for some people out there. So if we move on to the next slide, we describe the National Park City as a place, a vision and a movement. So the place in this instance is Greater London. The vision is to make the city greener, healthier and wilder. And the movement is all of us. So it's everyone who lives in London. It's everyone who commutes into London. It's everyone who visits London. It's all about all of us coming together to help to make the city a better place. What we want to see is we want to see more of the city green. We want to connect more people with nature and also with each other. And we want to use the identity of the National Park City to help to catalyse more positive environmental action. So next slide. Jumping back a bit here. So over a 5-year period, a proposal for the London National Park City was developed and campaigned on across the city. So winning support from individuals and people, a lot of process on this on social media, a lot of businesses and politicians. Campaigners went ward to ward around London, speaking at events and lobbying. And through all of this, we won a huge level of support for the idea of a national park city, including the majority of the London Assembly and back then from all of the candidates to be mayor at the time. There's also hundreds of businesses across the city and many, many voluntary organisations and charities that support the vision of National Park City. So 2 years ago, in July 2019, as part of a week-long festival, there were over 300 different events taking place in London. And one of those was on this day 2 years ago at City Hall, where the Mayor Sadiq Khan, along with other stakeholders, declared London as the world's first national park city. So if we jump on, there we go. So just a little brief look at London. We're pretty lucky with our baseline. London is often is actually more green and blue than people often think. So it's nearly up to 50% green blue, and by that I mean green being gardens and parks and woodland, and blue being rivers, canals, lakes. So with over 3.8 million gardens, we've got over 30,000 allotments, 3,000 parks, 300 city farms. There's a lot out there, but the point is we can do better. There's lots of different ways that we can do better, but I just wanted to highlight at this point, I think a useful example is actually looking back on the last year and the impact of the pandemic, both on the individual level and on communities. You have some positives coming out of this, people discovering local parks that they didn't realise, people growing their own food for the first time, people recognising the benefits of getting outdoors when they can, and physical exercise and the mental health well-being. So there's some positives from it, but at the same time, it has also highlighted that engagement with nature, access to our green spaces is not equitable. The age, income, ethnicity, disability, all impacts on levels of nature engagement. And we also can recognise now that although environmental concern is definitely becoming more mainstream, doesn't necessarily translate into pro-environmental behaviour. Go to the next slide. This leads me on to the Rangers programme. When we're talking about pro-environmental behaviour, so we'll hear from a number of rangers today, who'll be talking about some of the projects they're involved in, the organisations and the ideas that they have. But we're going to look at a little video after this from the Rangers programme, but just to give you an overview, through support from Timberland, National Park City Foundation could recruit its first 2 staff members, which is myself and Florrie, who's in the background at the moment, and we work to support a new network of volunteer rangers across London. So there's already hundreds of community groups and individuals and businesses working to make our city greener, healthier and wilder, and the Rangers programme is very much around supporting all of these wonderful initiatives that are happening and taking place, and supporting local communities to really make a difference. So one thing that we believe is that everyone has a connection to nature, and what we want of the Ranger Network is to engage people, to raise awareness and to really signpost places and people and projects and organisations in London. And it's all about helping to empower people to get involved in positive environmental work and community-led projects. Next slide. Oh, and that's the last slide actually. So there you go, let's make it happen together.